I started Shakespeare Communications by accident. I call myself the accidental PR. I just think community is so important, not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives as well.
I always keep telling people that your network is your net worth these days. It's not just about meeting people. You have to build relationships, and it's a lot more creative.
There's no such thing as a bad idea. It's all about brainstorming. Whoa, that's a great question. What's PR to me?
Hi Ananda, welcome to the pod. It's been amazing to get to know you via Media Mornings, which is a great concept. So let's start with how did you come up with that idea of having Media Mornings, and also what inspired you to start Shakespeare Communications?
Oh, morning, Ritika. Thank you for having me on the pod. Media Mornings, I just think community is so important, not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives as well. And I just love bringing people together, having people connect. And that's the thought behind Media Mornings. So it's a social for media, for press and PRs and creatives too. They're all welcome to drop in for free coffee and croissants. And it's not about card pushing. It's more about getting to know each other authentically and building those connections. And you know, it's really important in your work life to network, because that's where actually the jobs and the work come from.
True.
So, you know, it's very difficult to get responses on LinkedIn and so forth. But if you actually go out there and meet people and develop authentic relationships, that's going to actually be better for you in the long term. But really, it's really just to get together and get to know each other.
And it's a great concept. I always keep telling people that your network is your net worth these days, because you know most of the business we are closing is through somebody. Either you meet them online through Instagram or any other LinkedIn or many platforms that are available, or you're meeting them in person now, which through these communities it's become very easy, specifically for somebody like me who's moved from another country, and you know I'm trying to understand the landscape in a new country. I think it's a great initiative. So let's go back to your roots now, Ananda. You have spent almost 3 decades in the media space, 10 in journalism and 20 in the PR space. So please tell us everything about it, how it started.
Yeah, it's probably it's split more than that. It's probably about 15 years in journalism and nearly 15 years in PR, I guess. But yes, I started Shakespeare Communications by accident. I call myself the accidental PR. So I was taking a sabbatical from a journalism job. And during that time, I was recommended to represent a real estate company in Dubai, and they ended up being with us for 10 years, a decade, until they sold that company. And they just recommended us, you see. So it was the word of mouth, which is the first principle of PR. And again, it goes back to networking and why networking is so important, because it's word of mouth. You're recommending people while you're having coffee and croissants and, you know, so.
Great. And, you know, PR these days is also now very digital and creative. It's not just about meeting people. You have to build relationships, and it's a lot more creative than probably it used to be. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how has PR changed over the years?
So traditional PR is what Shakespeare Communications really specialises in. And so that is pretty old school. It is still about taking journalists out for lunch and coffee and developing those relationships and working on those high value articles and comment pieces, etc. for clients. At the core, although obviously PR encompasses a lot more than that now. You know, since I've moved to Dubai in the last 2 decades, we've had social media. It didn't exist when I started out in journalism. in the late 90s, early 2000s in London and the UK. And the new tech innovations are just very exciting because you can incorporate those things into PR campaigns, whether it's virtual reality, so VR, or AI, artificial intelligence, which we use in different ways. And what's really important is data as well. Yeah. Data can really drive marketing and PR campaigns if you have it.
Right. And how do you achieve the creative and strategic balance that is required in this space?
It's not done alone. I know everyone associates Shakespeare Communications with me because I'm the founder, but I have a whole team. I have a fantastic team. There's 7 of us, including me, now. And so every week we have a team meeting. And so we're going over the client accounts. We work on those accounts collectively and we brainstorm ideas. So there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's all about brainstorming, and you might have 10 ideas and maybe 2 of those are genius and a couple of those aren't very good, but it's all about brainstorming and gelling.
What are the key elements that go into a PR strategy for any client? If you can walk our audience through the process, maybe, so then they can probably implement the same with their brands.
So whenever we have a new client on, or a prospective client, and we're having a conversation, there's always a couple of questions we ask. And one of those is, what's the purpose of PR? Why do you want PR? For most, it's about brand awareness. It's not about direct sales, because you can't generally prove that with traditional PR, but it's sometimes about driving sales, or always about driving sales or awareness of something, depending on who the client is. But you have to keep your target audience in mind. So you have to either understand the brand already. If it's an international brand or a well-known local brand, then you'll have an idea of the target audiences. Or you have to, but you also have to ask your client, who are you trying to target? Perhaps they're trying to expand their reach and increase their target audience. So once you have that clarity from your client, then you can go away and build that strategy that reaches the goals that they want to achieve. And you do that together. So it's a collaboration.
Right.
So we take the intelligence and input and information from our clients, and then we turn that into a PR proposal. We then pitch it. We get feedback and input from the prospective client, and then we can refine that and hopefully be instructed on the account. And at that point, we'd come up with a PR plan. So we'd take that proposal even further.
Right. And I always keep telling my clients as well that this is a marriage. The first 2-3 months, it's like a waltz. You will probably step over each other's like while doing the dance, but eventually you just get to know them better and probably devise better strategies. So it's also a time-bound thing, which I feel people today, they seem to get very restless. Like they want like instant results, which is not possible, right? Like anything awareness based would take certain amount of time. So do you have any minimum amount of retainers, or minimum time that you take for a client to like on board, and what is the process, like the technical part of it?
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, and so even with social media, results aren't immediate. You're trying to get through what we call the noise. And so at Shakespeare Communications, our minimum engagement is normally a 6-month retainer. And 12 months is even better, particularly for the B2B clients, the business to business. And with some of our clients, we've been so lucky to work with them for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Wow.
And you really start seeing the results when you work with the client for that long, because you get that in-depth knowledge of the brand. And so that really helps. You're building all the time and looking for new angles and ideas. And it's very difficult to do that in a short amount of time.
True. And how do you decide the broadcast channels? Because these days there are so many options, right, in print and in digital. So how do you decide what's the best for your clients?
So most of our clients come to us because they want to be in print, so newspapers and magazines, broadcast, so TV and radio, maybe some podcasts too, and on websites, so newspaper websites and so forth. In terms of social media, that's a different thing. If each client's going to perhaps have slightly different social media channels that they want to use, and they change all the time. There's new ones launched all the time, and they go in and out of fashion and flavor, and they're different in different countries. So it can be quite hard for clients to manage, and it's very much down to how much budget you have and what your goals are. But again, clients tend to want to work on all social media channels, but it's really not a good idea, especially when you've got a limited budget. You need to be choosing a couple of them, the main ones, and developing those. But for what we tend to do, which is traditional PR, we'd love to see our clients on all of them, on TV, radio, in newspapers, and on websites. So the only thing about this region is that sometimes clients aren't English first language, so they might be hesitant to go on radio or TV. They might need media training and their confidence building for broadcast. But really, it's about getting the message out there. It's not about the channel. So you should be using all of those
absolutely to amplify it to the maximum reach.
As a general rule, why not?
So Ananda, what are your top 3 tips for a very good kick-ass press release? Because these days being seen is all that most brands require, and you've been doing it for so many years. So what are your top 3 elements that need to be in a good press release?
Well, first of all, press releases are really overused, and particularly overused in this region. Clients love them. I mean, they're quite quick to turn around, and you can get client approval and send them out, so they're messaging out. So it's quite comfortable, I guess, for clients and brands. But one of the reasons they're overused is that they're used incorrectly. And a press release should be a news release. It's about news that's happening. Have you got a new product launch or service? Is there a new appointment? Have you got a new managing director or CEO? Why are you doing that press release? It's got to be newsworthy and have a strong angle. If it doesn't, why are you doing it? So first of all, to create a good press release, it needs to be newsworthy.
Absolutely. That's a very, 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 very important point. And it also has to tell a story, because otherwise, why would anyone consume it? Because there's so much content that's happening. As we spoke about the ever-evolving landscape of PR, I want to know, what is the future? Where do you think, because you have been there since its inception, when it was pretty much offline, and I would say it was very closed, to the, say, top 10% who could also afford it. But over the years, I think affordability also has become a thing, wherein because of digital platforms, print seems to be a little more expensive. So where do you think, what is the future?
The future of PR? Well, PR is never going to die. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be needed. It's sort of human nature that people want to promote causes and brands for different reasons. And PR can be for good. It can be to raise awareness for charities and so forth, which sometimes we do. So the future is exciting, because you can incorporate big data, you can incorporate AI, you can incorporate VR and whatever is coming next. But you're right, storytelling is important to PR, and things like that. They're never going to change. It's just that perhaps the delivery changes.
Yeah, right. And being an entrepreneur, we always are faced with challenges. So crisis management is something, does it come naturally to you? Because for me it does, but I want to know what's your take on crisis management, because when it comes to PR, you're handling a lot of other brands apart from yours. So how do you do that?
So crisis comms is something we're very good at. We're a bunch of former journalists. The team is in their 30s, 40s and 50s. So we're an experienced team. We can offer crisis comms in this region, in the Middle East. I think it comes quite easily to us because we're former journalists, most of us.
Right.
So, and we've got that different generations in our team as well, who are also very digital savvy. First of all, I have to say what most local brands in the UAE think is a crisis is often not a crisis, because you often get these WhatsApps late at night, and I've said something on social media, and usually it can be very de-escalated very quickly, and it's not very serious.
Okay.
It's just big in the perspective and the eyes of the person that's posted. But crisis communications is actually all about planning. And when we pitch for retained PR with our prospective clients, we offer crisis communications. But often clients don't want to pay for it, or they don't want to incorporate it into their services until a crisis happens. And that point is really too late.
Yeah.
So crisis communications is about planning. We can have a separate crisis communications proposal and scope of work. We can sit down and we can run crisis communications simulation workshops with software. And we can, have real-time scenarios where, the communications and management team don't know what's going to happen. So if you're a hotelier, we can say someone has, had a heart attack and died while lying around the pool today. What do you do? And the first thing about crisis communications is that you always lead by compassion, and you always remember the person and the family or the situation and what's happening. You have to address that first before you worry about how that impacts the brand and the business. So it's always people first, human first. So once you've done those crisis plans or crisis communication simulation workshops, you need to put together a process for that client. So they need a process in place with who communicates. They need a WhatsApp group and a written communication process, who reports into who, what happens if a crisis happens. You also need to do a lot of work on the websites and the social media sites. So with a really big brand, like it's an airline, what if an airplane goes missing? The first thing you need to do is have dark sites and dark social media assets. So you're going to have your logos in black and white. You're going to have pictures of the management not smiling. You need to be able to switch over your website into a more compassionate mode, and the same for social media.
Oh, so the detailing goes to the level of even the color of the logo and the smiles, and that's something we often miss out on, that these small things which make a really huge impact on the overall communication. Ananda, you must have worked on like a diverse client portfolio. So what are the clients you handle, and what are the exact services? So tomorrow, if somebody from our audience wants to get in touch with you, what do you do exactly?
Oh, well, we'd welcome that. Thank you for this question. Yeah, we work with all sectors, from banking to property, luxury property, a lot of F&B brands, particularly in the vegan space, as I'm personally vegan. I'm a vegan advocate, so I'm very well known in that space here. But really, yeah, all sectors. We've got a couple of schools on, so we work in the education sector. We often have a tech client on, and brands that you would, very well-known brands, international banks, etc. So we like to work with clients who are sustainable or have sustainability at their core, and it's great that a lot of brands really care about that. They're working towards SDG goals these days. And we're known for being very ethical. And so we want to make sure that the clients we work with hold the same values that we do, and they're ethical too.
And that also comes from your journalistic background, probably. And you are a leading voice in the PR industry. So what would be that one advice that you would give to young PR professionals or people who have just started out in this space?
You know what? It's all about attitude, because when you're starting out, you can learn those skills. So you need to be hardworking, you need to be positive, you need to be confident, articulate. You need to really be able to hustle, be a lateral thinker, diplomatic. It's not for the faint-hearted. You have to be able to juggle a million things at once. So if you're intelligent and you're go-getting, then you can do really well in this industry.
Awesome. I would like to leave with one question. I need you to answer this in 3 words. What is PR to you?
Whoa, that's a great question. What's PR to me? In 3 describing words, or
anything,
doesn't
anything
matter?
that comes to your mind.
Well, it's about creating a buzz.
Definitely.
Yeah, amplifying and brand awareness.
Okay, great. These answers are so spot on. And thank you so much for doing this, Ananda. I really had a great time chatting with you. And we look forward to doing more episodes and a lot of more media mornings with you.
Thank you for having me on the pod. We can't wait to see you at our next media mornings.
Subscribe now and join us on this beautiful journey.